Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, April 28th, 2014 edition of Intelligence Report with avoiceformen.com and shrinkformen.com. I am Dean Esme, Managing Editor and Operations Manager for A Voice for Men. With me, as always, is the kitten-crunching, devastatingly witty, and otherwise thoroughly evil Tara Palmatier. Say hello, Dr. T.
Hi, everyone.
And some guy named Paul. Hey, hi, Paul.
Yeah, I thought maybe when you talked about terrible and killing kittens, you were going to introduce me first again, but fooled was I yet again.
Well, there are rumors going about that I'm really you in drag, so...
Oh, I've heard all kinds. I've got apparently more talents than I ever recognized because I've replicated myself across the world. This is invasion of the MRA body snatchers.
All right, well, we have an interesting little smorgasbord of odd stories going on this week. Nothing too world-shattering, just more general weird dysfunction. The first story that we wanted to look at, it looks like it appears in Jezebel. Talk show host Wendy Williams, on her program, went ahead and cheered. Her and her audience cheered for a woman who wanted to get pregnant without her husband's permission, and said that that was her right to go ahead and get pregnant and have another baby, because they had agreed to have 2 children, and she wanted another one, and he had changed his mind, and so it was just her right to, without his consent, go ahead.
Her reproductive rights.
Her reproductive
financial responsibility.
And you go, girl. Yay! That's the answer. Did anybody bother to stop and think, A, there's valid reasons to change your mind on whether or not you're ready for a second child?
Or maybe you realize that your wife is an entitled, narcissistic shrew and you don't want to further entrap yourself with a second child, or, I don't know, other reasons?
Yeah, I was getting ready to interject that maybe the reason he didn't want a second child is that he got to know her during the course of the first one.
That's a definite possibility. I mean, it could be something more mundane, right? But it's a definite possibility. Holy shit, what have I married? What have I gotten myself into? That's one possibility. Another could just be, oh my God, the pressure's too much. Whatever it is, it's interesting that they just think. Actually, there's 2 things that's interesting about this, isn't it? One, they just think it's her right to do this. You cannot imagine if they would ever do the reverse, right? Look, my wife said we'd have 2 kids. Now she's saying, no, I'm going to poke holes in the condom because I want her pregnant. That would be what? They would call that rape, wouldn't they?
Mm-hmm. Reproductive coercion, I believe, is the term.
But that can't happen to a man.
No,
right?
He just needs to keep it in his pants.
Well, first of all, I got to say, I mean, in all frankness, I'm surprised that Wendy can pronounce reproductive rights, much less talk about them. The fact of the matter is that she's confused, and just in case, and so was apparently her whole audience, because she claimed this was a matter of reproductive rights, and after all, he promised, and look at my eyes, girl, just look for the answer in my eyes of what you should do. And of course, she's obviously sending the message that she should get herself pregnant under false pretenses and give this man another child, which he has stated that he doesn't want. And all the women in the audience were clapping and cheering. So just in case, we do try to give a lesson with the language here, just in case any of you ladies out there think that tricking somebody into getting you pregnant is a reproductive right. No, that's confused. Reproductive rights are a different area. That's about whether or not that you get pregnant in the first place, not whether or not you trick somebody into it, but whether or not you allow somebody to get you pregnant with control over your own body, or it can have to do with abortion after you're pregnant. But it doesn't have anything to do with frauding people into becoming fathers. That's not
a reproductive right is not stealing someone's sperm.
Yes.
And here's the flip side of this that amuses me so much. Now it appears on Jezebel, right? Which of course, all right, let's just face it. Anybody who reads Jezebel and takes it seriously is an idiot. But still, it's a hugely popular site. So they have in the past gotten angry at the very suggestion that there was such a thing as women who coerced men into fatherhood. Women just don't do that. I even had one feminist tell me flat out, no woman would do that, or surveys have shown women don't do that. Yeah, they do. Surveys have shown up to 30% of women have admitted to doing something like that. It's heinous, and you should never do something like that. You don't have a right to force somebody into being a father. But what I find interesting is that they deny that it happens until something like this comes out, and then without batting an eye, I don't know, what is it, solipsism or something? They just say, yeah, this is great. You know, this thing that I said doesn't happen, okay, but it is actually great when it does happen.
That brings up, I think there's there's a story here that's more interesting than, you know, some moron, idiot woman talking about how great it is to trick somebody into pregnancy. We actually, and this, you know, I never thought the words, there's a link in the low bar to the article in Jezebel criticizing this woman. I never did imagine that those words would be coming out of my mouth at any time, and I'm certainly not, you know, too quickly impressed. I don't think Jezebel is seeing the light. They may be seeing the writing on the wall, and I'm wondering about that, about what you guys think. I know they've had a change in leadership. I know that Judgy Bitch has written an article about this that I have not been able to read yet. I'm going to try to get to it tonight, but it seems like out there in the feminist community, as John and I wrote together about a blog piece that was about finally starting to acknowledge that men are human beings and feminists having to find compassion for men and boys that they have withheld and all kinds of other things like that, there seems to be a little bit of a, man, we better get with the program kind of attitude going on out there, and if you could see it at Jezebel, you can just about predict you're going to see it in other places. Or am I reading too much into this? What do you guys think?
Well, let me add something to that, which just adds a third layer to this. Janet Bloomfield did write that article, and what happened is an experiment. Jezebel allowed a man to do all their writing for the weekend. There's a guy named Mark Schraber, and that article from Jezebel is written by Mark Schraber, and they decided to let him do it, from what I understand, for the entire weekend. The interesting thing is he posted several items, including this one, being critical of this attitude of female entitlement, of sperm jacking. Thank you very much. You can laugh at the word if you want, but that's what it is. And he stopped on Saturday night, and women started taking over writing again. So he didn't even get to finish out the weekend.
Okay.
Which I find interesting.
There's a backstory that gives us a little insight.
But they actually allowed a man they thought would be sympathetic, to go on there, and he looks like he's pissed some people off. But it's like, still, I do think something is in the air. The gender ideologues, the feminists, are starting to figure out there's something wrong with their narrative, and they'd better do something about it.
I don't think that they think that there's something wrong with their narrative. I think they buy into that 100%. I think they're starting to get pushback and consequences, and they're not able to silence people who disagree with them like they have been able to do for the last 20 or 30 years. And, you know, feminists gotta eat. They gotta eat. And I think that I think they're going to have to change their tunes.
Their world is changing whether they like it or not.
That's right, and their dominance.
Room for penis.
What'd you say?
Make room for penis.
Make room for penis. That's right. Open yourself
I'm going to have to
Make room
start
for
being a little
penis
more
and vagina.
up. Yeah, something's happening. Something's in the air. I mean, I've smelled it for a while now, but I mean, it's the odor's getting stronger and
Well, I
stronger.
think the rats can sense the ship is leaking water.
Tara, I hate to do this, but you need to lift yourself up by about 2 inches because chin is underneath
You
your
need
lower.
to find your high chair, Dr. T.
That's
That's
right.
my Sister Wendy book. I'll sit on Sister Wendy again.
Yes,
Oh my
because
God.
it looks like your lower third is stabbing you in the throat. It's not a pretty sight.
It's
It's
up a little
violence
too high.
against women.
Can we ask whoever the wonderful artist is who made these lower thirds? The problem is that the globe is too big and it's not flush with the bottom. And all right, hold on. Ah. Whoa, is that better?
Yeah, it's better.
That's better.
Yeah, see, we're going to have a trigger.
That's right. Blame the globe.
We have a
That's
red knife
typically
going
female.
on.
It's the artist's fault.
I'm enjoying sitting on Sister Wendy.
In the meantime, we had a
Female
red knife going into a woman's
suppression.
throat. It was violence against women, and we needed a trigger warning. It was horrible. I was traumatized. Okay, anyway, yeah, something's in the air. There really is. I think these people know that their time of dominating the gender discourse is coming to an end.
They just don't know how bad it's going to get.
It's going to get really bad. And they're going to hear that one as well as a threat of violence again. Fuck you. No,
Yeah, whatever.
it's just that you're intellectually and morally bankrupt, ladies, and you're idiots, and you've been idiots and intellectually and morally bankrupt idiots and bigots for too long. You're getting called on it. More and more people are less afraid all the time to call you on your shit. So, rant.
Must be just fucking unbearable for these people. Because they are not used, and I know we can't dwell on this too long, but feminists have gone unchallenged for so long and have developed such a hubristic attitude about their ideology and they just faint and at the first sign of dissent, it doesn't register in their head as a dissent. It's automatically an attack because they're so used to having their way and they're so outraged when anybody disagrees with them that they have to make all this hyperbole up and crazy stuff. It is just fun to watch these people fuck their way through a new gender discourse that's coming whether they like it or not. And it turns out, as you watch them try to do it, as we dissected that piece that was misandric and trying to say how much we love men at the same time, they don't know what they're doing. They don't understand the issues. They don't understand even the concept of human compassion. And the moment you actually talk in that language, they lose their shit and don't know what to do and then start acting stupid. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
You need enthusiastic consent for compassion, Paul.
Oh, yes, I forgot. Yeah.
The piece Paul is referring to is called The Call by Feminists to Treat Men Better, A Rebuttal, by Paul Elam and John the Other. You'll find that on the front page of A Voice for Men right now, or search the archives. You'll find it. It was a dumbass feminist. I'm sorry, I sound rude, but really, seriously, a dumbass feminist said maybe
That's
it's time
being kind.
treat men better, but then the language she's using is all still misandrous garbage. The best part was, and we'll teach men how to be better. Fuck you. Fuck you. We don't. How about this? I want nothing to do with you. You have to earn a place to come to the table to talk to me or us. And you need our permission to even sit at the table to have this discussion with us. Buy a ticket to Detroit, though. Maybe we can make that happen. Maybe. But anyway,
you might have to buy two.
You might have to buy two.
But if you pull the fire alarm, we will have you arrested. We're not a university.
Well, we won't be like campus police. Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, let me put that on the official record because we are dealing with some morons here. Folks, a university campus that's dominated by feminist ideologues and cops that are scared to do their job is not the fucking same thing as downtown Detroit on private property. It is so different. So I tell you what, you got plans, you're welcome to come to the conference.
I just got a little flushed thinking about calling the cops on a feminist.
Oh, yeah. And believe
me, is it hot in this room or is it just me?
I'm getting a little excited. Please come and please do something colossally stupid.
Yeah, because Detroit PD
every time a feminist gets arrested, an angel gets its wings.
That's right. That's right. And we will not hesitate to press charges. We will not.
Feminist tears saves a kitten.
That's right. Oh.
Okay.
I can't stop giggling. But no, they really are welcome to come if they pay at the door, and behave like civilized adults as opposed to the thugs that work.
And hey, and if they don't, here's a new concept that feminists should learn: natural consequences.
I knew the second word before you said it. They didn't.
No, of course not. Consequences? What are those?
I have a consequence. I try to be a good person. Yeah.
Yes. I had a consequence. I took 2 aspirin and got better.
All right. So we have the woman who thinks it's her. Who the whole audience full of women thinks it's just her God-given right to get make a man be a father without his consent or knowledge. Yeah. Okay. You go, girl. Then we move on to a middle school teacher. This is in the Washington Times. A middle school teacher. It's in the Washington Times, but I guess the woman was in Houston. Oh,
hey, your neighborhood.
Your neck of the woods. Felicia Smith. You know this lady, Paul?
No, I don't know her. I know of her, and so do a lot of people.
I thought everybody in Houston knew everybody.
Oh yeah, we're a small town down here, and everybody does know everybody. As a matter of fact, I think she did a lap dance for me too.
I think you're a little too old for her, Paul.
I remember slapping her ass, but it could have been somebody else. You know, you never know. Well, that's what she had her student do.
That's the funny thing. Yeah, she's 42 years old, and she gives a male high school student a lap dance in front of her class, including rotating her buttocks against him, to quote the news story, rubbing her hands all over his body, got on her knee and put her hands between his legs. Huh?
Wait, she put her face between his legs.
Uh-huh. And then he admits he slapped her on the butt a couple of times. He admits it. That's obviously a clear sign of consent there. So obviously nothing wrong happened here, right?
Well, yeah, he's high-fiving it, and you know what? He probably did enjoy it. I don't give a flying fuck if he did or not. The fact of the matter is that school teachers have legal responsibilities and boundaries that they're not supposed to cross, no matter what. And this, you know, by the way, if you've got a kid in a Houston school and they can't read, you might want to check out the intelligence of the teachers, because apparently they're not growing them too bright down here, I'm sorry to say. But this is a crime. Now, I don't know where the case stands at this moment, but have every...
Removed from the school, she's not allowed to teach, so that's a good thing. I mean, this is bold predation. Yeah. This isn't happening after hours, after working on Model UN. This is bold. She did this during school hours in front of the class, which makes me wonder, you know, unless she just suffered some type of organic brain something and went crazy, what else has she done that she felt comfortable doing something so incredibly, I can't think of the word for it.
Well, I'm even going to challenge Paul because I mean, it may have just come out quickly, but you said he probably enjoyed it. You have no way of knowing that. He would feel obligated to act like he enjoyed it,
Absolutely
whether he did or
right,
not.
and I stand corrected. I don't have any way of knowing that. Nobody does, and it's not for me to say or to infer that he enjoyed anything. You're
He'd
quite
feel
correct.
pressure to act like he enjoyed it, whether he did or not, and
Yes.
that's the truth of the matter. Up to and including this butt slapping. That's nope, nope. Nothing appropriated about it at all. Whether he liked it or not is irrelevant, but the fact is we cannot make that assumption. So
But the other side of this, Dean, is as Tara was pointing out, okay, she lost her job. Now, let me just think for a moment of a scenario where a 42-year-old male teacher sticks his head between the legs of his 15-year-old student, rubs his hands all over her body in front of the class. Do I believe that there would just be a termination there? No. We would hear click, click, and the sound of a jail cell slamming in record time.
yeah, well, I mean, she is out on bail. They did arrest her. She has been charged, so we might want to keep an eye on this.
Okay.
We might want to see. I mean, she did actually have to pay $30,000 bail. So who knows? Maybe Houston officials will take this one the way they should. I mean, I'm not going to declare I know what the punishment should be for this because I don't know all the ins and outs, but she should definitely be talking to a judge about this shit. And it looks like she will be. Let's hope the charges aren't dropped or some
I've got
other.
a nice cozy spot on the sex offenders registry.
That wouldn't help. That wouldn't hurt. As long as we're gonna have sex.
Never allowed to have a job where she is working with minors ever again.
And not just her. I mean, one of the things I can suggest people do is to Google teacher rape and WN as in Nancy D for World Net Daily. Not my favorite website, not my favorite crowd by any means. There's one person over there I have admiration for, and the rest I just won't comment on. But they do have an article that's been hit a gazillion times there that lays out this unbelievable spread of female teachers molesting male students, many of them special needs students, many of them in special education, all of them underage. And as you go through there, you might find 1 in 10 that got somewhat of an appropriate legal consequence for their actions. A lot of them were probated 30 days, suspended sentence, no problem whatsoever. Teachers in a position of authority over kids that have learning disabilities, grooming them and sexually being a sexual predator in the classroom and abusing these kids and getting a slap on the wrist. That is, I think that the culture we've developed ends up with somebody thinking they have such license that why not give a lap dance in front of the whole class? I bet she didn't have a second thought about doing it at all.
Or she just thought it'd be funny. They thought it'd be funny. Something like that. Oh, come on, this can't be serious. I don't have a penis. This can't be anything serious to these children's development, or to this child in particular. I don't have a penis. There's nothing bad that can happen here, really. Fuck you. In other news, on the other hand, unrelated news, this one comes from our friends at Women for Men, run by Suzanne Venker, Helen Smith, and Christina Hoff-Summers. The case of the female school principal who grilled an 8-year-old boy about sexually harassing a female classmate. This is a rather amazing story. Shout out to Suzanne and Dr. Helen and that crew over there at Women for Men. But apparently there was a scuffle that day between a second grader and a female classmate. A little girl was shaking a boy by the shoulders pretty roughly, and while she was doing that, her mouth touched his nose, And the boy said, well, basically she just kissed me. The girl goes home, gives her side of the story. The principal calls the boy in and revokes his recess privileges for a week and tells him that what he did was sexual harassment. And get this, says little girls don't think about these kinds of things. Basically, girls don't do this. So it was all his fault.
Yet this little girl did do this. Assaulted,
so far as we know,
assaulted the little boy, touched his nose with her mouth, and yet somehow he's harassing her. It sounds like she was assaulting him, and then touched her lips to his face without his permission.
You know, there's 45 ways to interpret this, because they could have just been frickin' playing, period, you know? But what goes down to it here is the presumption of guilt went straight to the boy, just unthinkingly. And if his mom hadn't challenged the principal on it, thank go mom. Mom's name is Jeanette. I can't remember. I don't see her last name, but maybe it doesn't matter. Jeanette, his mom, came in and gave the principal holy hell about it and asked the principal, do you have sons? And the principal said yes, and she said, would you appreciate your sons being treated this way? And the principal backed down. Great. Not all parents would have the moxie to do that, frankly, not in this day and age, but
here's the deal, though.
Of the unthinkingness of it. Go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
Well, here's the deal to me, because again, I think there's a larger story here than just these circumstances. What this reeks up to me is false rape culture and the consequences of rape hysteria and sexual harassment hysteria and sexual abuse hysteria that's been pumped into this culture for about 40 years now. Now, I imagine in the position of a principal, and it's not that I sympathize at all with her actions, I don't. But I know that they have the same sort of dynamics in courtrooms with restraining orders and such. A child goes home to their parents and makes a complaint. We don't know what she told them, but whatever it was, it freaked them out enough that they called the school and are demanding action. Whoever the principal is in that situation, if he's got the parents of a little girl and words like sexual contact, sexual harassment, or what are being used, they're going to try to avoid the hysteria and the witch hunt. They're going to fall into place. I mean, it's wrong. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that the origin of this stuff is not just people's propensity to automatically blame boys. It's that we have developed a culture that is just so freaked out. Judges hand out restraining orders. They hand out TROs without any evidence, without any corroboration. If a woman says she's afraid, because if they don't hand out that restraining order and she comes back to court in 2 months with a bruise, then the feminist lobby is going to come down and say that judge isn't protecting women that from domestic violence. This is the system that feminists have created. Everybody is overreacting to everything. This thing should have been sorted out. Like we did back in the day, you sit both students in different rooms, you question them, school people question them what happened, you draw out the freaking facts, and then you come to a sensible decision on discipline if it's needed at all, and proceed on with that. But we don't do that sort of thing anymore. Somebody uses the word sex and has a little girl to hold out there, somebody's going to freaking pay. Somebody's going to be offered up on that, because if they don't, there's going to be consequences for them. And we have feminism very much to thank for that crazy bullshit.
The principal was a woman, by the way, but it's not relevant to male principal.
I would have done it too.
Yeah. No, it is crazy. It's this demonization. I don't know. The demonization of male sexuality, the pedestalization of female sexuality to such a lopsided degree that we're talking about 8-year-olds horse playing. And I love that little girls don't act that way. What? What? Am I the only one who remembers being around that age and having the terroristic girls who would run around and kiss boys because they thought it was cute? Run up, kiss them, and run away. I remember girls doing that.
I got my first kiss at 6 years old from a next-door neighbor girl that bugged me for 2 weeks before I finally kissed her.
That is horrible sexual harassment.
Yes. I'm still dealing with it. I'm coping, though. I'm okay.
Okay, I mean, Dr. T is available to talk to you about that after this.
Well, it's not like, it wasn't so severe. It wasn't like somebody said something bad about me on Twitter. I mean, it wasn't not talking that level of damage.
Oh, Lord. By the way, he's referring to Melody Hensley, the Twitter PTSD nut. Somebody actually accused me of trying to diagnose her over Twitter. I'm like, no, I'm just questioning her logic.
You diagnosed herself. She claims that she is a psychologist who diagnosed her.
Yeah, with Twitter PTSD. Yeah, expressing skepticism is an unscientific diagnosis. Fuck you. Anyway.
Well, bullying and harassment can cause that, but so quit going on Twitter.
Well, yeah, and
if it's not upsetting you, but she won't.
Yeah, there is such a thing as cyberbullying, but in fact, since we're talking about Melody Hensley, she's engaged in a good deal of it. Mm-hmm. She's one of the worst cyberbullies I've ever seen. So is everybody at a lot of people at the Free Thought blog crowds. They are classic cyberbullies, pretty much all of them. But we're not here to do a hangout on those idiots who are an embarrassment to the entire skeptic community. So let's see. We have a female principal calling an 8-year-old boy sexual harasser.
Because he was assaulted and a girl put her mouth on his face.
That's right. We have a woman who, in a crowd full of audience, is applauded for wanting to trick her man into getting her pregnant. We have a middle school teacher giving her teenage boy student lap dance. And then we have, from Australia, a woman named Tracy Spicer who says, I'm sorry, I don't want my kids sitting next to a man on a plane.
I started reading that bigoted tripe, and I honestly, I didn't get past the second paragraph because I've already heard it before. Jenna Carbonitis, Snuffleupagus, whatever the friggity frack her name is, who is the one who didn't want fathers in her children's nursery school doing diaper duty or something. It's the same bullshit. She's a bigot.
Yeah, and so apparently, well, first off, right away, already, apparently, I remember this story from Qantas Airlines going back a few years ago, and I thought they had changed the policy. I'm not sure. It looks like they have changed the policy, and they're still defending this policy, and they're trying to say 90% of, or she's trying to say 90% of child sexual abuse is committed by men.
Not so.
Not so.
And let me tell you what, Mommy dearest, I don't want to sit next to your little dumpling unattended, especially if he or she is a crier. So here's my suggestion, airlines. Create one of those rooms they used to have at the back of the church with a soundproof glass wall, and all children who cry and their parents can sit back there. How about that? I don't want to sit next to your little kid who's going to kick the seat and touch me with her sticky little hands.
Listen, number one, you have a vagina. It is your job to babysit other people's kids on the plane.
That's what they're saying. You're the designated babysitter on a plane, Tara, because of your sex. Not that that's discrimination.
No, of course it's not. But B, much more important, there's something to her stats in as much as men are more likely to be arrested and convicted for sexually abusing children. There's substantial evidence that women are just much more likely to get away with it.
That's correct.
Absolutely. Much less likely to be reported at the hands of women, and much less likely for authorities or family members to suspect women of committing this kind of abuse. So, of course, they're arrested less frequently. I think it is important, given to get all the facts out in the story. One of the things that was mentioned there was that there was a United States airline, I forget which one it was,
Northwest,
pay out $500,000 or something like that in damages because they allowed, I mean, a 28-year-old man, apparently, according to the story, molested a 10-year-old girl on a plane. That's one incident. Okay.
Sorry, how does that happen? It's a plane full of people.
You know, I think there are predators that are that bold and that stupid at the same time. We could be dealing with somebody with significant, you know, mental issues, intelligence issues.
Fair enough.
Don't know what it is, what happened with that, or anything. But again, it's one incident. It doesn't mean anything statistically.
a lightning strike incident, really.
Yeah. How that happened, hell, I don't know. But you know, what I do know is that targeting an entire sex and saying that you're a threat to be by children, you know what? Airlines should stop letting people that aren't of age fly alone on airplanes. If they're going to have to go to those extremes, if children are at such risk aboard aircraft that they need to be quarantined off from anybody with a penis, then what parent in their right mind would put their child on a plane if they thought that there was a risk of that? I mean, this is, well, you know, we get to talk a lot about crazy shit doing this thing. It'd be nice if we could come up with something normal every once in a while. Unfortunately, feminism and society at large won't oblige.
Overall social misandry. I am reminded, I think I mentioned this in the last hangout, but still, I'll mention it again. I remember Erin Pitsy telling me about the woman that she worked with who loved traveling in airplanes and trains and sort of things, and sitting down next to strange men, quote, sharing a blanket with them and then sexually molesting them. So that's one way you get away with something like this. I just love the whole mentality women are incapable of it. That's one of the reasons why 90% of those convicted are men. I mean, maybe men are more likely to do it, but it's almost certainly not 90%, because we know the underreporting is rampant when it comes to female predators. It just is.
Not just underreporting. You know, let's forget conviction rates. Let's look at the reporting rates, because a lot of these women, particularly these teaching cases, they don't get convicted at all. They get a slap on the wrist and maybe some counseling. Yep.
Plead down to something minor that doesn't get them on the sex offender registry.
That's right.
I don't believe in the sex offender registries, but it's another argument. But yeah, no, they get erased. They get erased by the justice system. If they get arrested at all, they're more likely to be let off or be allowed to plead down if they get arrested at all. I still think, I mean, maybe we'll see a change. Maybe I'll be wrong. I'm pretty sure this Houston teacher is not going to wind up with something that puts her on a lifelong sex offender registry. I hope I'm wrong, but
I just think that these same people that, like this idiot in Australia, and the people that come up with these airline policies, and part of them are to protect their ass. The other thing is that it's politically popular to do crazy stuff like that. But the mentality is, let's say, for instance, that if we look at just per capita circumstances, we can make the argument that African Americans commit more violent crime than white people. And of course, we're not going to sit here and discuss any facts and figures like poverty or lack of education or opportunity or the destruction of the family or anything else. We'll just ignore all that stuff and just say, well, maybe we should have a policy of keeping African Americans out of stores where expensive items are because they might steal them. Or out of
it happened to Oprah Winfrey at Tina Turner's wedding in Switzerland. So just kidding. I think that was
didn't happen. But this is the same mentality. It is. You're taking a statistic, 90% of child sexual abuse being committed by men, not so. I'm not going to try to quote any firm statistic right now, but I have read them. I know it's not true. But taking any statistic and saying, because X is true, then we're going to treat this entire group differently and put restrictions on them and demonize them and make people paranoid about their presence is bigotry in every way we define the word. There is no other way.
Unless you're talking about Puerto Ricans, of course, because those people...
Oh, yes, yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, there's that. Or the Irish.
Or the Irish. Definitely the Irish. You
or Irish babies. I think Jonathan Swift had the right idea.
Yeah, he had solutions.
I cannot wait.
You know what? Unattended children on airplanes
should be eaten.
Should be served as airline snacks. There we go. Problem solved.
Well, the airlines won't.
Would you like a bag of peanuts or Melody?
Although it wouldn't work in this case. I remember once I walked into a business that had a wonderful sign. It said, unattended children will be given a free espresso and a free puppy. Which I thought that maybe that should be the policy, right? When they get off the airplane, here's your free puppy, here's your coffee. Now goes the item, mom and daddy. No more kids on airplanes, I bet, pretty damn quick.
Yeah, this is just that kind of thinking that, you know, it's like colleges. If I believe feminist hype and typical social bullshit, do you think I'd send my daughter to college so that we could start a pool?
U.S. college campuses are like Darfur or the Belgian Congo.
Yeah, we could start a pool on what semester she would be raped in, or whether she'd be raped in more than one semester. This is, you know, we're living in this narrative that is making the world crazier all the time. But even feminists are starting to wake up. Amanda Marcotte tried to soften a little bit, and it short-circuited her brain after it was pointed out that she had softened her stance on MRAs by saying that people should actually talk to them and listen to them. And then I think maybe the sisterhood got her back in line. We're starting to see them sort of, you know, fiddle-fuck their way around this stuff, but it's hard to bring yourself back from terminal crazy.
All right. Well, you know what? If we ever do hold we have sometimes considered doing our next International Men's Conference in Australia, but I'm sitting here thinking, do we really want to give Qantas Airlines the business?
I think there are other airlines that fly to Australia. Virgin does, I think.
We should look into that. We should look into that. In the meantime, well, we've hit all of our topic areas.
Any comments in the comment tracker?
Oh, yeah, there's all kinds of comments. Let me see here. Brandon T. says, sounds like the teacher was smart. They were preparing the boys for the realities of the current system.
Ah, good call, Brandon.
Very good call. Very good call.
Did the teacher make the boys she assaulted give her a wad of $1 bills?
I think maybe he's referring to the... That's fine. I think maybe he was referring to the 8-year-old there.
Oh.
Prep for reality. Prep for reality. Do not touch a female. Do not allow a female to touch you. That should just be...
And if you're assaulted by a female, tell her you're sorry and you'll never do it again. Tell her you're sorry your nose got in the way of her face.
Okay.
Well, we don't have to worry about that too much because, as Jed Johnson says, we have an answer. What's funny is before that, in kindergarten, a group of boys and girls were playing the kissing game. A teacher lined up the boys and yelled at us about rape and going to prison.
Holy shit! I wonder how old Jed is. Damn.
This stuff has been going on a long time.
No, it has, and I know we're all kind of old. That's scary, but God, I mean, I grew up in the 70s more or less, and girls acting like this. I mean, girls could be little nasty bitches, but boys could be little nasty shits too. So whatever. I mean, but boys got lined up in a lecture about rape.
Speaking of truthful insights, Use Psychology has this to say, that's what's interesting. We're taught to minimize this stuff, but women are taught to maximize it. That is spot on the money.
It is on the money. It's completely on the money. And when a boy has an unwanted sexual experience, he's supposed to enjoy it whether he really did or not. He's supposed to shrug it off. And it's a weird imbalance, right? Because I've had people accuse us of trying to make men as hysterical about being sexually assaulted as women are. It's like, no. It's like women are way too high here and men are way too low here in how they see it. And it needs to kind of go like this a little bit. And, you know, I'll accept it if it turns out that still women are a little more likely to be assaulted or men are a little less likely to be. Whatever. The point is we've got to so out of know what a sane answer looks like right now.
The reaction needs to be proportional. I mean, breeding hysteria, whatever happens to you in life, if you've got people around you acting like your life is over, that you're damaged goods forever, that you'll never be whole again, and that you're scarred, you're going to internalize that, especially if you're a child. That's what happens. We have a hysterical reaction to any sort of imagined or real sexual impropriety acted out toward women that causes more hysterics and more damage. Whatever's happened, there's more damage because of it. And so we need to come from the hysterics up here, and down here with men where is more or less complete denial, and start looking toward that middle ground where there is a reasoned response to things that happen in life. But we don't have a reasoned response. The feminist idea of dealing with a problem like male on female rape starts with a pitchfork and torches. That is the answer. And of course, you know, that's pretty cool in a Frankenstein movie. But,
no, Paul. The answer is just to tell men not to rape.
Yes, of course.
Not to rape. Well,
it helps if you're holding a pitchfork.
And it really does. And it really does help if you start in kindergarten.
Yes.
By second grade, this kid should have known. He should have known by second grade. Oh, God.
Oh, that message has been out there a long time. I'm sure you probably remember the Josh Jasper video teaching boys to saying he's strong, he's independent, and showing the film of this 18-month-old boy or younger, and then saying, of course, then he beat his girlfriend, and we have to change what being a man means. Well, we're not even waiting till fucking kindergarten. We're trying to hit them coming out of the womb with a stick in the head saying, don't rape anybody.
I remember ahead of that one there was a Canadian ad that ran around with women at a baby shower for a pregnant girl, and they give her a rape whistle in case she has a girl. Yeah, I'm sorry, folks. That's hysteria. It's a really hateful hysteria, too. Damaging to women and men alike.
We should have given her about 100 free therapy sessions for her kid.
No lie. No lie.
We had the Dallas area in Texas. We had the Dallas Rapid Transit, Dallas Area Transit, DAT, that had a campaign that was finally taken down. That I don't know if you guys remember this, but they used pictures of children. One of them was a young girl about 8 or 9 years old that said, "When I grow up, my husband will beat me to death." And then, of course, they use a picture of a little boy about 8 or 9 years old that says, "When I get older, I'm going to rape my girlfriend." And these were put up on the trains all over the Dallas and Fort Worth area. Absolutely amazing. And they finally did, after I think NCFM got in on that and a few other people, I wrote some stuff about it, they finally took that stuff down. But it's like, man, this is big business, this hysteria. And I've seen it. I'm telling you, this stuff damages women that are real victims. It does, in about 100 different ways. We could do 10 shows just on the damage that you can do to people by being hysterical and unreasonable about problems that you're purportedly trying to help them get through.
All right, we've been going a good 50 minutes now. We have some exciting news about the Detroit conference that we can't tell you about yet, but the Detroit conference is starting to look ever more interesting, and I will not say more than that, but...
Oh, no, can't say more than that right now, but I bet we can by the next hangout.
I bet we can. There's some fun stuff coming that we didn't think was going to happen, so we didn't say...
And possibilities for even more stuff. There is... I want to take a minute to say something. I said this to the ABFM staff in a note in one of our Skype rooms the other day, and I want to say it publicly. How much I appreciate everybody at ABFM. This started as a one-man blog, and now look at what's happened. I mean, there's more people volunteering and doing stuff, real stuff, at levels I wouldn't have imagined even 6 months ago. It's absolutely and utterly amazing what is going on behind the scenes of ABFM right now. There's too many people to name individually, but I just wanted to give a public shout out to these amazing people that took us from a one-man blog and saw us through times of lies by the SPLC and attacks and demonization in media, and stood by ABFM and stood with us. And now look at us. We've got a senator standing with us. We have some of the greatest luminaries that have ever lived on the subject of gender and sexual politics. We have esteemed academicians. We have a team of people that is working for $0, 0 cents, working their asses off all the time, helping make this thing bigger and better and more professional. And I'm humbled by it, and that's not blowing smoke. I don't even know what to say sometimes when I look at all that's happening. It seems like lately I get up every day and somebody says, guess what else is happening? And I find something out new and fantastic that somebody's doing without being asked. Thank you. Let me get that out there to all of you publicly. Thank you for what you're doing.
We're again going to look forward to seeing all of you in Detroit who can make it. We really hope you all can make it. It's going to be a really special event. We will have more to tell you about it in the next few days. Also, if you're in the Toronto area, Attila Windsor is having in early June a rather exciting and interesting conference. It's going to be completely about the domestic violence issue, but ABFMs that are at large, Aaron Pitsey will be there. Other people will be there.
Martin Vibert will be there, who has released the most exhaustive collection of studies on domestic violence ever collected that demonstrate gender symmetry. And who else is going to be there, Dean?
Let's see. Martin Fiebert, Miles Groff will be there, who will also be in Detroit. Vernon Beck, Walter Fox, a very well-known lawyer who cares about men's issues in Canada. Senator Ann Cools, she's getting back and active again on men's issues, which is pretty damn cool. They're hoping for they've gotten some commitments from people who run battered women's shelters to attend, so that's good. But one way or the other, this event is happening in Toronto. So if you're in the Toronto area, or you're a working professional, because this is aimed at working professionals interested in domestic violence, child abuse, etc., as well as the general public, you do want to check that out. The Domestic Violence Symposium, you can go to torontodv.com, torontodv.com, to get to the site for that event. We do endorse it. We hope you guys attend. Either way, we definitely hope to see you in Detroit. Anything else you want to add?
Let me add something else to that, just a suggestion. The tickets for the Domestic Violence Symposium that Attila Windsor has worked so hard to put on are $89. I want to suggest that even if you can't make it, go in and buy a ticket. Help him. He's working his tail off to start making a real impact on what's happening in Canada in the domestic violence scene, and we're starting to gain momentum. Help the guy out and help that Domestic Violence Symposium out so that we can get the truth out. That money does not go to ABFM. It goes to the group organizing that symposium. We don't have anything to do with it really, except that we're telling you about it. But I'm buying a ticket, even though I'm going to be too busy to make it. But I hope that other people...
Give me your ticket, Paul, and maybe I'll just go.
Okay, I'll buy you a ticket. That's fine.
All right. And, all right. And Dr. T, do you have anything you want to add?
No.
Okay, excellent. Back to old.
We're back to the routine. I like it.
All right. Well, everybody, if you are in an abusive relationship with a woman or think you might be, please visit shrinkformen.com. Check out the enormous number of articles available there for free, the cheap and extremely useful therapeutic forums that Dr. T runs. Even think about possibly hiring her to help you figure out and sort out this mess in your life. Shrinkformen.com. If you're interested in men's issues in general and getting involved in the burgeoning, quickly, continually growing men's rights movement, check us out on the front page of A Voice for Men, and we will see you here next week on Intelligence Report. Peace out.
And in the meantime, one last thing, then we're going to go, folks. I do want to say, per a request from one of our commenters, that unfortunately Rebecca Watson has not taken me up on my offer for a free ticket to the Detroit conference. I feel terribly heartbroken. But so now, for this week only, Chanty, Big Red Baby, I know you're out there. If you want to come to the conference, you got a free ticket. You just email us at A Voice for Men, and we will get you a ticket to the conference. We want you to be there.
And we're not kidding. We're not kidding.
No, we're not. That's a serious offer. Free ticket to the conference for Big Red. We'll even get you a seat up front.
All right, guys.
Take care, everybody.